Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Kevin, I am a geek, and you are back here on the channel. My name is Kevin, and excuse me, let me just adjust that a little bit. So we are here with the well, we've had the England squad announced for the excuse me, for the World Cup 2022 in Qatar. Now, if you missed my video a couple of days ago, I went through what I thought were some of my thoughts and predictions for what the England squad could potentially look like, what I might think with some of the players that possibly could or could not be picked. But today, of course, at 2 o'clock, the actual squad has been announced, and we are here to just dissect it, give it a little bit more thoughts, and give my predictions on what I think England might do in the World Cup itself. So starting off with the squad, of course, we've got the three goalkeepers, Jordan Pickford, Nick Pope and Aaron Ramsdale. In defence, we've got Kieran Trippier, Luke Shaw, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kyle Walker, John Stones, Harry Maguire, Eric Dyer, Connor Cody and Ben White. In midfield, we have Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, we have Jordan Henderson, we have James Maddison, Mason Mount, Conor Gallagher and Calvin Phillips. And then finally, we have in attack, we have Bukayo Saka, Marcus Rashford, Phil Foden, Jack Grealish, Raheem Sterling, Harry Kane and finally Callum Wilson. Now, how did I do with my predictions? I got about 85% of them right. So the vast majority of who I thought may potentially get picked are in the squad. And I basically got 4 incorrect, which of course was going to be a bit of a tricky one because there was a few of them that were potentially going to be hit or miss depending on fitness. So in defence, I got 2 wrong. The first one of note, Kyle Walker has been selected. I did think he might potentially be able to make the squad. I was correct that Reece James unfortunately wouldn't make it. His injury did seem too serious. However, Kyle Walker apparently is going to be fit. I potentially selected James Justin as a sort of backup left back. He wasn't selected. They chose Trent Alexander-Arnold, and I went with Tomori in central defence, but they went Gareth Southgate chose Connor Cody instead of him. And then I went with 3 strikers. He didn't take Tammy Abraham, so he's only gone for 2 out-and-out strikers. And also Calvin Phillips made it into the squad, even though I thought he was a little bit of a risk to take. So Calvin Phillips is in, and Conor Gallagher is in instead of the 2 that I selected of Tammy Abraham as striker and James Ward-Prowse in midfield. So how did I feel reading those? I mean, it was kind of to be expected. I'm not going to lie. A lot of the players are there. I am surprised that Calvin Phillips was picked. He, at the time that I did the recording of the video, he had only made basically, 13 minutes worth of appearances for the entire season. If I just go back to, I think it was yesterday. So yesterday, Man City played and beat Chelsea 2-0 in the Cup. I'm sorry, I'm getting my thing up here. In it, basically Calvin Phillips came on in the 50th minute, so he basically got about 35 minutes. So I mean, we're talking so far of competitive football for the season. Calvin Phillips has now basically played about a half. He's basically played about half of a match. It's a tricky one. I think what he brings to the team is probably good enough. I don't think he's really going to be starting a lot of the matches. I think he would probably be more of the backup. I'd be surprised if he gets brought in with the lack of game time that he's really been played. But Gareth Southgate does really trust him. So he's obviously clearly going for him there. Conor Gallagher, he had a reasonably good season last season on loan at Crystal Palace. From what I've seen, he hasn't really played that much or done that much with Chelsea after going back to them. So I'm a little bit surprised that has gone with them. Now, I could spend a lot of time, but I'm not going to go through the main kind of ins and outs. I did that in the episode the other day. But what I did want to do is kind of have a little bit of a talk about my thoughts on how Gareth Southgate may line up the squad, and also how I think we're actually going to do in the tournament itself. So what I've done is I've brought up FIFA on here, and I couldn't do it with the actual England because obviously you can only limit it to 23, whereas in the World Cup you can actually go to 26. So I've basically gone in the editor and I've basically gone through and I've basically put all of the players onto Tottenham just to kind of put them all into one team, so you can see them all here. Of course, ignore all the players that are there technically, on loans. Ignore all of those. So they're all there, all the players that have been selected. So how do I think that Gareth Southgate is going to line up? I think he's going to go with one or two things. I think he's either going to go with the 5 at the back, or he's going to go with the 4 at the back. So if we take a look at the 4 at the back first. Now, realistically, in the group stage, I don't think we're going to go with anything other than a 4 at the back. Your opening 2 games is against Iran and then is against the United States. And then, of course, the last game is against Wales. So, in theory, you would like to say that England, on paper, should be beating all 3 of those teams. The reality is, in World Cup years, you never quite know how things are going to pan out. And also with the fact that this is, of course, uncharted territory, that it is a World Cup in the middle of a season, there may be some slight differences that go on. Now, in the League Cup match that played yesterday, Harry Kane actually got substituted for Tottenham when they were losing against Nottingham Forest around about the 50th minute or so, and from the reports I read, he was saying that he was quite tired. So that gives you a sense of how this can be quite difficult, for the nations. Excuse me, where you have basically played such a compacted season, and you've had to ram all these extra games in because of the fact that you're having to take off this time in the middle of the season. And any clubs that are playing proper top levels, so they're playing European games as well, they've basically been playing 2 games a week for the past few months. It's been really, really crazy there. So I'll be interested to know how things are going to be happening. I do apologise. I've just had one thought. No, we're all good. There definitely could be a rotation. I think that's exactly why there will be a situation why you may need to have some kind of backups. Now, I think in attack, England are reasonably strong. You look at the players that we've got available. I mean, there, of course, is going to be a huge reliance on Harry Kane. I don't feel we've got enough with the players that we've got to really take the goal-scoring pressure away from Harry Kane. And so if he gets injured or suspended or anything like that, I think we're going to be in trouble. I'm not going to lie, because Callum Wilson is a good backup striker to have if you really need him. Is he enough to lead the line when you really need it? In those crucial games when you start getting into round of 16, the quarterfinals, semi-finals, final itself. If we manage to get that far, I don't think so. The closest one you've got to a striker, if you take away from Harry Kane and Callum Wilson, is Marcus Rashford. In the games I've seen him play for Manchester United, he's not so great at leading the line. He's good at the wide and going in with the pace and everything, but he's not consistent enough to be that sort of focal number 9 kind of player. So if Harry Kane does lose out, I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty worried. I'm really worried. But overall, I think we've got just about enough to at least for England to get to the quarterfinals. When I've looked at the the squads and who we might play depending on where we come in. If we win the group, then we're going to be playing second place, whoever finishes in Group A, which at this moment in time, I would say that Holland, the Netherlands, they're most likeliest to win their group. And then at the moment, I'm plumping for Senegal. But then again, Senegal do have an issue where Sadio Mane, definitely arguably their best player, is in a bit of a race against time, shall we say, to be fit for the World Cup. So Senegal will probably be my picks to be second in the group, and therefore if England win their group, they're probably most likeliest to play Senegal. But you just never know in a World Cup. There's always a lot of surprises. But if we get through that and we get through into the round of 16, we get through that, we're going to the quarterfinals. This is where I think England are going to get unstuck, because realistically, the chances of who we're going to play, whether we come second in our group or whether we first, the quarterfinals is going to be our first real biggest test. Again, granted, there could be some surprises like there was in 2018. We did not expect to be against. And I don't want to kind of say anything, but they were kind of. It was a weaker team than we were expecting, shall we say? Put it mildly. And I think we definitely could have been against a bigger team in the quarterfinals for that World Cup. As it is with this one, if it goes how I would guess probably most people are expecting, the likeliest outcome is we're going to play France in the quarterfinals. I think that's going to be where we come unstuck. The defence is the area that I'm most worried about, because when you look at it here, so I've got here, this is the kind of five back, and I think it's going to be when you're against the bigger nations, this is where England are going to have to play five at the back, and I don't think you're going to be able to do a four at the back. It's going to be, we're not defensively strong enough. So the way I'm kind of thinking about it at the moment, if all goes well, if everyone's fit, if everyone's playing well and no one's suspended or anything like that, the likelihood is you're probably going to have Luke Shaw and Kieran Trippier at left back and right back, or wing back kind of thing. Then you're going to have a three at the back with most likely is probably Stones, Maguire and Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker, again, is obviously still kind of coming back from injury, so kind of see where he goes with that. But Maguire has barely played this season, so in theory, at least he should be fresh. But is he doing well enough? That's the thing. He's been quite poor for Manchester United for a long while, but his England form has been a bit better. And I think in a three at the back, Maguire is, especially if you have the likes of Kyle Walker behind, to the side of him. Kyle Walker's got enough pace that I think he will be able to cover Maguire in the event of an issue. And I think Stones as well. Stones is reasonably pacey, in comparison. But Maguire could get left out. So in the three, if he's sort of in the centre of the three, he's got that height. He should be able to hopefully clear things out. But in a four, if I go back here, and you see this kind of the back of the four, Luke Shaw, Stones, Maguire and Trippier, I'm worried. And I think against the likes of Spain, France, Germany, Brazil, Argentina, I think we will get caught out, personally speaking. And this is a problem. So we would end up going to sort of a five at the back, and I think quite a counter-attacking offensive to get through if that was be the case. The problem again you've got with that is if you're kind of sort of playing the three at the front and then you've got the two, if you're playing that five at the back, you're kind of relying on probably Declan Rice to kind of drop back that little bit and be that really sort of kind of holding midfielder, which could mean that Jude Bellingham could get a little bit isolated there, which I really think that Bellingham works best when he's in a sort of a three-man midfield in the kind of way that you see here with where I've got it kind of providing Phillips kind of gets back to his fitness and everything. You're looking at sort of a Bellingham, Rice, Phillips kind of thing. The backup players we've got, the other problem that I think we've got is the fullbacks and the wing backs. Because as I said in my predictions video, I said Luke Shaw is the number 1 left back, but we're losing out on having a backup. You know, what you could do in theory, you know, you could easily swap Kieran Trippier onto that left-hand side, and then you could put in Arnold or Alexander Arnold or Kyle Walker as the sort of replacements. Kieran Trippier is competent, I would say, at playing at left back, but really I don't like, in defence, I don't like having, you know, a left back, a right-footed left back. I don't like a left-footed right back. You know, I think it's okay when you're in attacking, but in defence, I think it's really screaming out for a potential weakness, particularly if they're trying to go around the outside. If they're cutting inside, maybe you can kind of get away with it a little bit more. But some nations are going to be a really kind of more of a stickler for the more traditional right wing, right-footed, left wing, left-footed kind of player. In the same way that you know, back in the day you would have had like Ryan Giggs on the left, David Beckham on the right for Manchester United, for example. If you put Trent Alexander-Arnold in at right back, he is for me very weak this season in a defensive capability. I think he's okay as a wing back and from his attacking play, although his output this season has been quite poor, you know, compared to his own high standards. And I think if we play Trent Alexander-Arnold against the bigger nations, he will cost us a goal. I'm convinced. I think we'll lose a goal to him. Connor Cody coming in for Tomori, I think is one of those. I think that you could give him a bit of respect for that. I think he you know, they're very similar players. Personally, I would have gone Tomori because of the fact that he's been in Italy for a number of years. He's got that sort of Italian kind of defensive mindset, which, you know, Italy as a nation and a league are so strong at, and I think that would have benefited us greatly. But I think Connor Cody is an okay backup. Ben White can play, I think, just about at left back, should the opportunity really be required. But the fact that we've literally got one out-and-out left back does really concern me. In midfield, yeah, I'm not expecting Conor Gallagher to play, except in a real emergency. Henderson, I'm really not expecting to play that much. You know, he might come on little bit parts here and there. And then it really comes down to, like, when you're doing this with like a midfield 3 pairing, who do you go with? I mean, Bellingham for me is a no-brainer. He's going to be starting. Declan Rice, I mean, I can't see any reason why you wouldn't start Declan Rice as, you know, at least alongside him, or as part of that 3, because realistically, you need your strongest players. And if you put in Phillips but you don't play Rice, what is Gareth Southgate thinking? You know, maybe you could say, okay, you take out Rice and you put in, for example, James Maddison or Mason Mount into that kind of whole area. But Maddison has not been, Calvin Phillips has not played enough to warrant a starting place in my book. And Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, they definitely deserve it. And for me, if you're going for that number 10 position, for me right now, if you don't go for Maddison there, you've got to go for Phil Foden. Put him in the number 10 and then choose out wide. You go with Sterling, Grealish, Rashford, someone like that. They're realistically the choice that I think they're going to go for. Sterling, like, really, the right wing is one of those that I just don't get enough. We don't have another good player to play that position. I think you're either, I think Phil Foden may come in for that right wing position maybe, and then you kind of have him kind of cutting in if you don't go with Saka, and then. It's really a toss-up then. Who do you go with? Do you go with Raheem Sterling or do you go with Marcus Rashford out left? For me personally, I would go Rashford. because Sterling has just been so poor this season, again by his standards, and yeah, I'm a bit unsure. But that's why, for me personally, I'm not going to be picking England to go past the quarterfinals unless we get a favourable run. I cannot see us winning the tournament. I absolutely cannot see us getting to the semi-final, unless we get a good run, because I think the big nations are far too strong for us, and we are too weak defensively. And this is the big problem. We might be able to sneak it with attack if we do well, but I'm worried about that defence. I really am. So that's my thoughts on the England squad and how I think what we might do as England. What do you think? Please do drop a comment down below. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I am planning on doing a review after maybe like a little preview and a little review after each England game. That's something I would like to do moving forward with the channel, along with playing, of course, all the video games that I've been doing. There's loads of stuff that's going on the channel, so please do subscribe if you are new. And of course, as always, my name is Kevin. I am a geek, and you have been watching Kevin the Geek. Goodbye.